Every coach that has served as the LSU Tigers head football coach since 2000 has won a national title while in Baton Rouge. Brian Kelly will look to extend that streak this season after a surprisingly successful year one that almost saw them crash the college football playoffs. The Tigers return a lot of talent heading into 2023, which makes them a contender for the national title in a loaded SEC. But will they be able to pull it off? Let's look back at the history of LSU and then talk about why they may compete for the national title this season. You won't want to miss this one. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and to subscribe. I'm planning to release a video every day for the month of August. Also, comment who you want me to cover in future videos and your record prediction for LSU football this coming fall in the comment section below. LSU football began in 1893 when they took on Tulane in a 34-0 loss in New Orleans in front of 1,500 fans. Dr. Charles E. Coates was a chemistry professor for the school at the time and had played football at Johns Hopkins back in the day. He wanted to start a team at LSU, so he got a handful of students together to field a team. He originally planned to play a game that previous fall, but after 2 scrimmages, he decided to push the game back. The LSU squad showed up with makeshift uniforms that had purple and gold ribbons on them. The reason they chose purple and gold was because they were Mardi Gras colors and green was sold out. In the game, future Louisiana Governor Ruffin G. Pleasant actually played quarterback for LSU and is the only game Coates coached. In 1894, LSU secured their first win over Natchez Athletic Club 26-0, with Samuel Marmaduke Dinwiddie Clark scoring the first touchdown in program history. They hosted Mississippi in the first ever home game at State Field, which they lost, and they secured their first win in Baton Rouge in 1895. In 1895, LSU won its first Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Association title after an undefeated season. That year, Tulane tried to illegally use a player to play LSU and had to forfeit. That was the first game that LSU was referred to as the Tigers. This was the name adopted because the 9th Louisiana Infantry from the Civil War was known as the Fighting Tigers. As the 1890s came to a close, the Tigers found themselves struggling to consistently play games because of an outbreak of yellow fever. After a few tough years, LSU would go 5-1 in 1901, and once again Tulane was caught using illegal players in their matchup. A game LSU lost 22-0, but was later reversed. In 1907, LSU became the first American college football team to play on foreign soil in the Bacardi Bowl against the University of Havana on Christmas Day in Havana, Cuba. LSU won 56-0. In 1908, LSU finished the season 10-0 and was retroactively awarded the national title by the National Championship Foundation, but the school does not claim this title. Tulane alleged that LSU used professional players that season, so things were clouded, so LSU, Auburn, and Vanderbilt were all named SIAA champions. In 1916, Dana X. Bible served as the Tigers head coach. The Tigers played their first game in Tiger Stadium in 1924 against Tulane in front of 12,000 fans on Thanksgiving Day. 18,000 fans managed to make their way into the stadium. In 1931, LSU played their first night game in Tiger Stadium when they beat Spring Hill 31-0. In its last year as a member of the Southern Conference, aka the SoCon, LSU tied for the conference championship led by coach Biff Jones. In 1935, LSU went 9-2 and 5-0 in conference play to win their first Southeastern Conference title, which led them to playing in their first Sugar Bowl, where they lost 3-2 to number 4 TCU in Tulane Stadium. The Tigers and Horned Frogs both took home the Williamson Poll National Championship, which is not claimed by LSU. Gaynell Tinsley became the first All-American selection for LSU in 1935. They won their second SEC title in 1936 with a record of 9-1-1 and 6-0 in conference play, finishing as national runner-ups to Minnesota in the AP poll. LSU won the Williamson Trophy and Seguin Rating National Championship, which are not claimed by the school. That season they beat Southwestern Louisiana, now known as Louisiana Lafayette, 93-0, which is the largest margin of victory and most points scored in a game in program history. In 1937, their rivalry with Florida began, which was won by the Tigers 19-0. In 1943, they won the Orange Bowl. The 1946 team played in college football's version of the Ice Bowl and the Cotton Bowl Classic, led by quarterback Y.A. Tittle. LSU entered the game 9-1 and took on Arkansas. Ice, sleet, and snow pelted the stadium as LSU players filled oil drums with charcoal and started fires from makeshift heaters, while fans built fires in the stands. LSU dominated the game with 271-54 yard advantage and a 15-1 advantage in first downs, but failed to score. The game ended in a 0-0 tie, and LSU finished the season 9-1-1. In 1949, led by Tinsley as head coach, LSU lost to Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl. In 7 years as head coach, Tinsley went 35, 34, and 6. Paul Ditzel became the head coach in 1955 and used his patented 3-platoon system that saw him replace whole units throughout the game rather than individual players. The school won their first claimed national championship in 1958, beating number 12 Clemson in the Orange Bowl. Ditzel left to coach Army in 1962, and Charles McClendon replaced him. He led the Tigers to 3 top 10 finishes in 4 years. McClendon coached the Tigers until 1979. Bo Rain was hired to replace him, but was tragically killed in a plane crash. After going through only 4 coaches in a 44-year time period, LSU would proceed to go through 8 coaches between 1979 and 1989. Jerry Stovall led LSU to their first win over a Bear Bryant-led Alabama team for the first time since 1970, but finished the season 4-7 and was dismissed at the end of the season. Bill Arsparger followed as head coach and led them to 2 Sugar Bowls and led them to their first outright SEC title in 1986 for the first time since 1970. After Sports Illustrated ran a cover story about the university's issues, he met privately with athletic director Bob Broadhead to complain that the negative coverage was harming football recruitment and threatened to leave the school if something wasn't done. Shortly after the final regular season game in 1986, he announced he was resigning to become the athletic director at Florida. Miles Archer took over in 1987 after serving as defensive coordinator in 1985 and 86. He was a 34-year-old and chosen over the likes of Steve Spurrier, Mike Shanahan, and Mack Brown. In 87, he went 10-1-1 and finished 5th in both the major polls and led them to a win over number 4 Auburn in 1988, known as the Earthquake Game. He lost 4 of his final 5 games of the 1990 season and was praised by Curly Hallman. Hallman led them to their worst loss in school history to Florida 58-3 in 1993 and finished with a 16-28 record. His .364 winning percentage is the worst for a non-interim coach in school history. Jerry DiNardo took over and in 1995 petitioned the NCAA to reverse its rules that had prohibited teams from wearing white jerseys at home games, a rule it passed in 1983. They brought back the jerseys for the first home game that season, beating number 5 Auburn 12-6. They achieved their first winning season in 6 years that year, going 7-4-1 and beating a Nick Saban-led Michigan State team in the 1995 Independence Bowl. They beat Florida for the first time in almost a decade in 1997. But after struggling in 98 and 99, DiNardo was fired. Nick Saban took over as head coach in 2000 after finding success at Michigan State. He led the Tigers to a BCS National Championship in 2003 and an SEC Championship in 2001 and 2003. He had a record of 48-16 at LSU and won several Coach of the Year awards. He left LSU to become the head coach of the Miami Dolphins in the NFL. He later said that leaving LSU was a mistake and that he really wanted to be a college coach. He is now the head coach of Alabama, where he has won 7 more national titles. He was inducted into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame in 2019. Les Miles took over for Nick Saban when he left for the NFL and continued the success early in his tenure set by Saban. He led the Tigers to the BCS National Championship in 2007 and another appearance in the title game in 2011. He also won 2 SEC championships in 2007 and 2011 and reached the SEC title game 3 times. He had a record of 114-34 at LSU and won several Coach of the Year awards. He was fired 4 games into the 2016 season after a loss to Auburn. Ed Orgeron took over as interim head coach after Miles' firing, and he wanted to flip the script. He shortened practices and spent more time in the film room to keep players fresh. He modeled his practices after former mentor Pete Carroll. He led LSU to a 6-2 record to close out the season and was retained as head coach. In 2018, LSU beat number 8 Miami and number 7 Auburn to propel themselves to 5th in the rankings before losing to Florida. They then upset number 2 Georgia and beat Mississippi State, which saw them go from 13th to 5th in the polls. They finished the season losing to Alabama and Texas A&M, the latter being a 7-overtime thriller. They beat UCF in the Fiesta Bowl, ending their almost 2-year win streak to finish the season 10-3. The 2019 LSU football team was one of the most dominant and historic seasons in college football history. The Tigers finished 15-0, the second team in modern football to do so, and won their 4th national title by defeating Clemson 42-25 in the College Football Playoff National Championship game. LSU also won the SEC Championship by beating Georgia 37-10. LSU set several NCAA records, including most points scored with 726, most touchdowns with 96, and most 50-point games with 6 in a season. LSU also led the nation in scoring with 48.4 points per game, and a total offensive number of 568.4 yards per game. LSU's quarterback Joe Burrow had a remarkable season, winning the Heisman Trophy by the largest margin ever and breaking the NCAA record for most touchdown passes with 60 in a season and highest passer rating of 202. He also threw for 5,671 yards and ran for 368 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. Burrow was supported by a talented cast of playmakers, including running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who rushed for 1,414 yards and 16 touchdowns, wide receivers Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, who combined for 3,320 yards and 38 touchdowns. Chase won the Blitnikoff Award as the nation's best wide receiver that year, and LSU's defense was also formidable, led by linebacker Patrick Queen, safety Grant Delpit, and cornerback Derek Stingley Jr., who had 6 interceptions. LSU faced 7 top 10 team opponents during the season and defeated them all by an average margin of 16 points. LSU's closest game was a 46-41 win over Alabama in Tuscaloosa, where Burrow threw for 393 yards and 3 touchdowns. LSU had impressive wins over Texas 45-38, Florida 42-28, Auburn 23-20, Oklahoma 63-28 in the Peach Bowl in the college football playoffs, and Clemson 42-25. LSU finished the 2020 season 5-5 and 2021's regular season 6-6, and Orgeron was let go. LSU shocked the college football world when they hired Brian Kelly as their head coach, poaching him from Notre Dame. Kelly brought in talented transfer quarterback Jaden Daniels from Arizona State and had a magical season. After a heartbreaking loss to Florida State in the season opener, they proceeded to beat Southern Miss, Mississippi State, New Mexico, and Auburn before losing to Tennessee 40-13. They rebounded by beating Florida, upsetting number 7 Ole Miss, and winning a thriller against number 6 Alabama 32-31. They clinched the SEC West with a win over Arkansas 13-10 and beat UAB 41-10 before losing to Texas A&M 38-23. They took on number 1 Georgia in the SEC title game, losing 50-3. Going into year 2 under Kelly, there are high expectations. Quarterback Jaden Daniels returns for his last year of eligibility and could play himself into the Heisman conversation. Daniels feels at home telling the media at SEC Media Day, "LSU is special to me, the fan base and everything. Just the state of Louisiana has taken me as one of their own. I kind of feel like I'm from Louisiana now, in a way. Even though I'm from California, I'm from the West Coast, they took me in as one of their own and treated me with respect." He wants to have an amazing season for the team and the state that has shown him so much love. The Tigers returned 4 running backs from last year in Josh Williams, Armani Goodwin, Noah Cain, and John Emery, and added Notre Dame transfer Logan Diggs after the room dealt with injury bugs throughout the 2022 season. The school does have question marks surrounding their secondary, having basically a brand new unit, but remember, this is defensive back university. Star Harold Perkins returns and will need to set an example for a unit that has a lot of question marks, but does not lack any talent. Mason Smith returns for the Tigers after suffering a torn ACL in 2022. Alongside Smith will be All-American candidate Mekhi Wingo. They bring in Omar Speights, who is an all-conference selection in the Pac-12. LSU fans have enjoyed watching their programs and national titles this year. Angel Reese led the women's basketball team to the title, while the baseball team dominated the diamond and won the College World Series. The football team looks to add to their success this coming season. Brian Kelly has the roster in year 2 to continue LSU's championship ways set forth by the other programs. Will they be able to do it? Only time will tell. All I know, this is going to be an exciting team to watch this season. What do you think? How well will LSU do this year? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more college football content, and check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.